let's get into that. Like, what were your overall thoughts of the entire draft? Like, picks, people, where'd they go? Like, what did you think?
Well, nothing surprised me. Okay, and I'll say that because, again, in my 40s now, Sean, I'm wise to where I didn't pay that much attention to the mocks, and because and I didn't pay attention to what I flipped between ESPN and NFL Network thought was the next player that should be drafted.
Yeah,
because just like you just said, we don't know what teams are on what's on teams' boards, and what just because a player is good enough to be a first round pick, that doesn't mean, okay, this guy's a first round pick. Which team could he fall? Right. Let's put him. Whereas opposed to those teams get up there and say, we're going to draft for what we want or what we think we need, not just because, yes, that guy's a good player and he could fit with what we got. So nothing really surprised me. I mean, I honestly, there's some things where, like, I loved what the Texans did.
Yeah.
I don't love CJ Stroud, so I'm kind of like, gosh, like, was that the right move? But, like, I love the idea of a cornerstone on defense and a cornerstone on offense. Like, what a great way to start, the franchise. I honestly, I hate saying this because he's one of our buds, in the family, but I don't know what Detroit's doing with some of their picks. Now I look back at their overall haul and go, okay, well, that's actually a pretty solid haul of players that can contribute. But, like, during the time, it's like the whole value versus did you need to? I mean, who drafts a running back and a linebacker in the first round?
Right.
So there was that. But and so I just kind of took back and I didn't really react to much, even when we surprised me. I just said, all right, okay, that's what they want to do. I wouldn't have done that, but okay. That was kind of my reaction.
Yeah. No, honestly, I had heard all the hype about it's going to be 4 quarterbacks taken early on in the draft. I didn't believe it. I said yes to Stroud. I said yes to Bryce Young. I just thought they were 2 tiers above everybody else. But when I looked at Levis and I looked at Richardson, you know what I mean, and Hendon Hooker, especially after last year, I was like, these guys are second rounders. These guys are at least going to drop, even if not second round, they're going to drop too deep in the first round. I just didn't think they would go. And especially not 4th with the Colts picking up with the Colts picking up Richardson.
Yeah.
When they picked up Anthony Richardson, it was a major scratch at the head because it was kind of like, really?
I know.
You know what I mean? And I've been trying to wrap my head around that one because, okay, maybe the running game and you and Jonathan Taylor, and because the weapons really haven't improved outside of Jonathan Taylor. You're still relying on a good defense. It just he's a developmental quarterback. He's not somebody that I'm putting all my eggs in that basket. So that really surprised me. But at the same time, hey, we'll see. They did need a quarterback. So, I mean, that's definitely a direction we know they're going to go. The Texans moving up to get that 3rd pick. And in hindsight, I get it, like you were saying, because you got the cornerstone on both sides. But it's still that day you're just like, oh, and the Cardinals moving back and ended up getting the guy they needed.
Right.
It was kind of just, it makes you think like, okay, these guys, these guys are going for something. And the Texans went for it. The Lions, I didn't know what that was. Because when I saw Gibbs and they still had DeAndre Swift on their team, I was sitting here like, you're going to run 3 running backs back there? Because they got Montgomery as well. It was like, that don't make sense. Because there was no part of my mind that said Gibbs is coming in to replace DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in my mind said that. DeAndre still got years on him. I know he's been injured every once in a while, but you and I saw him up close in Detroit when he daggone fell down, gets up, and still runs in for a touchdown. He's got speed. He's got game. So that move messed with me. And guy that we had talked about a lot, Lucas Van Ness, going to the Packers in the first round. Like, what?
Yeah.
I had him at second, no doubt about it. And it was actually somebody that I was very interested in coming in the second round. If we didn't go for Cody Mock, which we didn't,
right.
I was definitely focused on potentially trying to pick up that guy. And then all of a sudden he gets picked up early. So there was a couple things that got me, but I don't think anything got me as much as the place where former Georgia running back DeAndre Swift ended up. And the rest of what the Philadelphia Bulldogs have been doing.
Yeah.
Will, I don't like to call people the dream team since Vince Young did that and it was totally dipped, but they look amazing, man. They got 2 years of national championships on that defense. Now you got DeAndre Swift to pair with your quarterback that just got paid and Jalen Hurts. Woo!
It's scary.
It is. Will, what do you think about this, man?
It's very scary, and this is where I just want to like say to everyone else, like this is where like I want to see the Packers suck for a while because they've been in a division with the Bears and the Lions for so many years who are have been awful, and they don't have a difficult road. And for years, like at the NFC East, even with the Redskins being a continual cellar dweller, they make offseason headlines. Yeah. They make splashes that make you say, "Oh well, you don't know. We'll see how this works out for them." Type moves to where like the NFC East is just so competitive, and the Eagles on this one now it's like they didn't just draft people from a school because the Redskins did that for a period of time. They drafted Jonathan Allen, then they drafted Daron Payne, and they were getting the Alabama wall, and then they drafted Ryan Anderson. But then it was like well. And they got Ari Quandro. So they got all these guys. But the Eagles have been getting Georgia's best defensive players. Like, not just players that played on the defense, but the 2 best defensive players in the country the last 2 years are now in Georgia. They got 2 linebackers that were some of the best linebackers in the country now in Philadelphia. It's like, oh, come on. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that to me, once I saw they moved up the spot to get was it Jalen Carter, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you pick up Nolan Smith, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then they get Keely Ringo, who was another guy that we had kind of in the list. And
in the 4th round, wasn't it?
Right.
I know everybody was passing on him.
I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, how are we allowing this stuff to happen? But at the end of the day, kudos to them. They still got to play because, as we saw, Big Davy got Jordan Davis got in a lot last year, but he didn't make the huge impact I think that we expected. You know what I mean? Then obviously Nakobe Dean had the injury issues, but if they can all get on the field at the same time, I don't want to play them, especially not 2 times in a year. Will?
Yeah, right. Yes. It's not. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Oh, Misador with a question that I'd love to answer if we weren't going over the entire draft. We will answer that question, Misador, because I have a great theory. Not the Eagles one. The one before that.
Oh, yeah.
I have a theory on how to keep the name Commanders and get people to rally behind it. But that is not for tonight. Maybe it's next week.
Yes, we will definitely rejoin us next week because, it's definitely something we've been talking about. Because we know Dan Snyder didn't take away the Redskins name because he feels for the Native American people. No, they started touching his money. So he said, oh, really? Soup. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that name and then go football team and then now Commanders. But we definitely, what is it? Hey, y'all don't still have Jake from State Farm?
We do. And I'll tell you what roster number he'll be on here in just a little bit, Colin. Mm-hmm. We do. Yeah.
I think he's getting that axe.
Yeah. So let's talk about our draft. What are your overall thoughts on what we did, philosophy-wise, overall?
So obviously hindsight's 2020. Like we said, we talked that day. And in the first day of the first pick, when we got Emmanuel Forbes, I wasn't thrilled. We had Christian Gonzalez right there still. I thought he was the better guy. But after doing a little research on Emmanuel Forbes, he's a baller. He's a ball hawk. I like that. And then you start going down the list and you start looking at some of these names and you're just like, what? Quan Martin at Illinois, and you're getting Stromberg out of Arkansas. I know you liked it, was good with that. And then you got Braylon Daniels. But off top from the very beginning, I'm sitting here like, and then KJ Henry. And I remember looking at KJ Henry like, what? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking Trenton Simpson. I was thinking if we're going to go this position, let's go linebacker, not edge. But again, hindsight's 2020. And then you keep going down that list and you're just like, okay. But it was one of those things that like you said, being 40, you can take yourself out of the situation, step back, and just look at it from an overall standpoint. And from an overall standpoint, we did exactly what we needed to do. We got filled needs. We brought healthy young guys that can play. And there's a number of guys on this team that I feel like are going to make solid contributions in this coming season. So overall, now that I can sit back and look at it, I'm like, yes, I enjoy it. I'm good with it because, like I said, I feel like we are doing the exact opposite of what we've been doing, which is getting all the big name guys trying to, fill the seats and win the off season. We didn't necessarily do that. There's other guys we could have got. And I think this year we we needed to fill a hole, go here. We're looking towards the future at edge, go here. Like you need a linebacker, go here. We got a couple safeties. Overall, I don't have a problem with it. I think they gave us a B plus. Or I saw some picks where they gave
kind, yeah.
I was like, I might have gone B minus C, but I'm extra harsh. That's how I am. But what was your overall thoughts of us? I know a couple of your guys got picked up.
That's right. I was going into the weekend, Sean. I was 2 of 3. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On naming players. No. Okay, so here's where I'm going to give them some praise. All right, and I think the folks that are being critical, you are correct. You're not wrong for being concerned about Forbes' size. You're not concerned about saying who's our starting left guard. You're not concerned about saying who's going to be a tight end. And some of these holes that we still have. They're all very valid. What I am going to praise them for is they put pride aside.
Yeah.
With this draft, I feel like one of the things that always has bothered me about the Dan Snyder era was the fact how they just felt the need to throw it in your face that they know what they're doing or what they're doing. At one point, Vinny Serrato, when the media started questioning some of the moves he made, he goes, "We have a plan and we're sticking to it." Yep. Like with the draft, like when they drafted 2 wide receivers and a tight end, in the second round, and they're like, "Really, that many offensive players?" And he's like, "We have a plan." And it's like you're not even being open to it. And what I mean by why I think they put pride aside is we had a top 5 defense last year, statistically.
Yeah.
All right. But they also looked at this and you could say, well, let's shore up the offense and we're good to go. But they looked at their roster and said, okay, even with a top 5 defense, even in some categories were like top 3, they said there's things we could fix there to be even better, to be more dominant. Let's go do it. And one of those things was to get more depth at defensive back and to get playmakers at defensive back. And they attacked those with their first 2 picks. Mm-hmm. And so I like that. We talked about for the last couple of weeks, some of the things where we helped have that turnaround under Taylor Heineke was the defense started playing better. They got off the field on third downs, but then they also started making plays. Yeah. And, Kendall Fuller flipped the field. And I keep saying this about Forbes, and we need guys who can flip the field to give Sam Howell a shorter field to play on and not go 75 yards on drives every single time. So in that sense, I give them credit for saying we can enhance this good area position that we have. Let's go make it great. And they did that. The other thing is they spelled out what they wanted to do. Ron said it in January. We need to get younger at center. They got younger at center. He said we need to improve our offensive line depth. They improved the offensive line depth. So in that sense, they know some of where their holes were and they were filling it. And then the last thing, you and I talked about it is they don't care about what the board says.
No.
They identify a player. Now it's kind of boring that way where they kind of identify a player, but last year they traded back and got their guy. And Jahan Dotson, it worked out. This year they stayed pat most of the time. And they got some of the guys they really wanted. And so if that's the case, like the board, the heck with the board, if this is who you guys think are going to make the right selections to make us better, then I'm good with it.
Yeah. I mean, let's rock and roll with it. And let's go ahead and just so the people see what it is we have with our first pick. At 16, we picked up Emmanuel Forbes, corner, Mississippi State, 6 foot. It's got him here as 180. I think he came to his pro day at 170, but everything we kept hearing was 166. 166, dripping wet.
Yeah, 180. That
Right. So the second round, for the 47th overall pick, we picked Quan Martin, defensive back, normally playing safety from the Illini, 6 foot 195. Third round and 97th overall pick, we picked Will's guy, Ricky Stromberg, who will be our center out of Arkansas for the Arkansas Razorbacks, 6'4", over 300. Fourth round, we got Braden Daniels out of play tackle, play guard for the Utah Utes, 6'4", 297. And the fifth round, KJ Henry, edge rusher out of Clemson, 6'4", 250, 255. Sixth round, we got Chris Rodriguez, running back out of Kentucky, 5'11", 224, which that was interesting because we were looking for a back at that point. And then at the seventh round, and a true seventh round pick at overall 233, we picked up Andre Jones, edge rusher / linebacker from the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, 6'5", 252. And looking at that, I mean, there's pieces. There's definite pieces. And like you mentioned, we had a big need at secondary. We hit it right away. We had a big need at line. We hit it next, right after that. Then we made some curious picks, getting Henry, getting Jones. Both of those guys are edge, and then and have the size to play linebacker if necessary. And then Chris Rodriguez, which I've seen him play. I know you have too, being in the SEC.
Throw that to me when it's time.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I will. So let's go right in to these picks and just see where we stand, where our heads at.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.